What was your high school's wildest NSFW scandal? The football star at my high school was accused of sexually assaulting a 4-year-old child and went to jail for it based off very little evidence. He was sentenced to 25 years. It was my junior year. And it was his senior year. He had a full ride scholarship to play football and he, along with everyone else, really thought he'd make it to the NFL. He served 3 years of that sentence when the county's new DA looked over his case and saw that there was basically no evidence. So he was released. This was in summer 2017 and he was officially exonerated last year. Turns out it was his best friend, who looked just like him and lived with him. Who did it? Dude is doing really well now. His girlfriend stuck with him through the whole thing and they're married now. There's actually a documentary on Showtime about it that just came out. This happened after I graduated, but a student attacked another student with a frying pan. There weren't any frying pans in the school, so it had to be a premeditated frying pan attack. Girls' track coach gave members of the girls' track team rides home and massages. Got escorted out of the school in cuffs one day. One of the girls were fucking the IT admin. She was 16 to 17 when that started. Heard an update from an old classmate nearly 20 years later, and not only have they stayed together, they're married, got 3 kids and live the upper middle class suburban dream life. Art teacher at my school started dating the prized art student a year after she graduated. They are married with kids now. His oldest son was a grade younger than her at the same school. An English teacher would make out with a student during his planning period while his wife was teaching classes next door. After school, he would make excuses to his wife about having to stay late at school and meet the student at hotel rooms. He was led out of the school in handcuffs in front of the entire school. Funny enough, the cops gave him the opportunity to go out the back door of the school and not make a scene, but he refused. I actually witnessed this. 2 students with mental disabilities went to the toilet together. Exactly what you think happened. The teachers forced the door open to stop them. End result of this: the parents of both students each argued that neither had the capacity to give consent. Both students were sent to court on rape charges against each other. Of course it was their parents' choice to do this. Charges were dismissed in the end though. But that was one hell of a month for everyone in the know. Not even a scandal, just a widely accepted rumor. English teacher was purported to select 1 male per senior class to try and woo and sleep with. My friend claimed his older brother was that year's selection, prodding him to strive to do the same. Unfortunately for him, another uninterested buddy actually was, resulting in her petting his arm, giggling at his jokes, bending over in front of him, etc. She left to become a principal at a different district a few years later. Our science teacher was a porn star in a past life. Someone in the school found a video she was in his dad's porn stash. It was a huge scandal in our conservative town. She was let go, which sucked because she was really an excellent teacher. It became a national news story. She was on Dr. Phil about it. Despite numerous campaigns by the students, she was never hired back. One of the PE teachers was very not secretly in a relationship with one of the upper 6th girls, US senior. The day after she left school, he left his missus and he and the girl shacked up and later married. Last I looked, they were still happily married with a couple of kids. In my school, one of the female PE teachers was secretly in a relationship with her 7th grade daughter's best friend, also a 7th grade girl. The daughter caught them and nobody would believe her, so she bought a spy alarm clock from the school book fair and recorded them to turn it into the police to prove it. I felt awful that even her father didn't believe her. A teacher who was always suspected of having inappropriate relationships with students managed to get on the wrong plane with a student during the senior trip. They ended up in Greece when everyone else was in Italy. 9 months later she had a baby but didn't tell anyone who the father was. Students got caught fucking behind the theater by the vice principal. He went on the PA system to remind all students to refrain from doing anything inappropriate while at school or in the theater room. You could hear the entire school erupt in fucking laughter. No one knew who it was though. 2 students coordinated jerking off in English class. The soccer coach was sleeping with 4 of the soccer players, 16 to 18 years old. 2 of them being other teachers' daughters. They had it completely secret until his wife found a journal where wrote about each time he slept with each girl on the team. At the end of the school day we walked out and there was 4 to 5 cop cars and they were walking him out of his building in cuffs. If I remember correctly, the girls didn't have to come back to school for the rest of the school year, it was close to the end anyway. Everyone found out their names pretty quickly. Biggest scandal at that school in decades. Someone put gear oil in the machine shop teacher's coffee. Damn near killed him. That's definitely not safe for work. But it seems like the teacher should have instantly realized the coffee tasted wrong and spit it out, instead of drinking it. Long story short, a student was caught having sex with a sheep at the tiny farm the school ran for the agricultural elective students. Edit. So, since it's been asked a few times, the only slightly longer part of the story was that the class was, as stated, an agriculture elective. Once a student had completed enough required worksheets, they got to go over to the farm and do some work instead of sitting in class writing. Not exactly easy, but it was nice when the weather was cool. This guy had the class for both morning sessions, so he said he'd just stay over at the farm and get a ride back at the end of the next class. Well, amongst other incidents, he was not the brightest bulb in the box. Seems he lost track of time and the next class came walking up to the barn with him balls deep in the sheep. Word was, the sheep didn't seem to notice. Our history teacher made multiple sexual remarks to a female classmate. One time he pulled her shirt up because her cleavage was distracting. He retired not long after that. I had a friend in one of my high schools who had a pretty large chest for that age, 16 to 17 years old. She had a teacher that used to call her Double D, her initials were DD. Always kept her staying late after school, making creepy comments. The usual. Apparently every school has at least one old creep like that. Kids had sex on a bus. Led to a lot of news beyond our immediate area. There was also potentially a graphic teammate that said less than school region greater than know how to ride the bus. Some girl kissed a dude on the jaw on the bus. The dude's mom was a Karen and freaked to the school about it. A student was having sex with many girls in the gym locker room or music practice rooms. This was discovered due to an explosion in STD rates. I don't recall if it was chlamydia or gonorrhea. Yuck. There was this younger, smokin' hot female teacher at my high school. Her BF was on The Real World, and she did a visit on the show wearing a super skimpy bikini and talking about her BF's dick. Everyone had already had a crush on her, but this pushed it over the edge. I don't know if she quit teaching, but I don't remember seeing her around school after that year. Not sexual, but someone took a huge shit in one of the bathroom sinks. Very much abnormally large, especially given that it was in a sink. It was basically a mountain of shit, and at the very top someone put a perfectly ripe strawberry. That went from a completely immature and fucked up to an act of almost epic comedic proportions. This was a year or 2 after I graduated, but there was this one teacher at my high school who was fired for, in no particular order of weirdness, buying booze for students, smoking weed with students, buying weed for students, buying weed from students, writing a paper for a student for a different class in exchange for weed, driving certain students who skipped school to a bar in a different city several hours away, sending a student a completely unsolicited text that said, "I've never wanted to cheat with anyone in my life, but I want to with you." Offering to buy a student a $500 knife and give it to him at school. Explaining it thus: if I can walk around campus with marijuana on me, you can walk around with a shipping box with a knife in it. Kiddo, you can't walk around campus with marijuana on you. She was the scripture teacher. That position, at that school, at least when I was there, was as cursed as the defense against the dark arts job at Hogwarts. A kid apparently jacked off in the back of the class. Someone apparently got it on their phone. Cops came. Person who recorded it got charged. He sat where I did. But in a different class period. So I switched my chair for a new, less nutty, chair. Turns out, every other class before me had also switched the chair. So we couldn't find the nut chair. We even made black lights with our phones to look for the chair. It was great. Let's see. The greasy hair comb-over principal was banging the young counselor during school in the office. Forgot to close the blinds. Was seen by half the school. And his wife, who was a PE teacher. My high school friend who got pregnant, who was propositioned by the football coach as, "It doesn't matter now, you're already knocked up." Quote. We had a football coach fucking one of the cheerleaders. I was so blind to it all. He was my positional coaches and I had respect for him, so I never believed it. He never talked about it, and I was friends with that cheerleader and she always denied it. 2 years after graduation they got married because she was already pregnant with their second child. She dropped out of college her first semester and became a stay-at-home mom. Her Facebook page now is just really sad. It has been almost 16 years since we graduated and she still seems miserable. All her dreams just vanished and she is still married to that coach who is getting older and fatter. He is over 60 and she is in her 30s. I went to a charter school in PA. The founder stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from the school district and used it for himself. In the back of the school, he built an apartment with a stripper pole, but it was hidden in the school. You could only get to it through one door hidden in a closet. He was eventually caught stealing money and he committed suicide. Principal sexually harassed a teacher. Gym teacher was fired for being too close to female students. I couldn't get any more details. But I did witness his strange behavior towards females in the class many times. One girl had a key to his office. Students having sex in bathroom per second theater. Nobody ever got caught in the theater as far as I know. There was also a stabbing my freshman year. I didn't witness that itself. But I was in the hallway that it happened on and witnessed the loud and panicked crowd. Edit, for any more people wondering if we went to the same high school. I went to high school in Tennessee. My biology teacher was having sex with a sophomore. It became a personal problem for me because I wanted to take AP Bio the next year. And I needed a recommendation from my current teacher to take the class. I asked the AP instructor if I should go to the state penitentiary to get my letter. Edit, that requirement was waived for me. But I'm okay saying terrible things about the ordeal instead. One of our history teachers had been a stripper before becoming a teacher. This was years earlier. She was a stripper before she even went to college to get her teaching degree. We found out about this because the father of one of my classmates had been a regular customer of hers and recognized her at a student-teacher conference. He told his son, who obviously told the entire school. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. See you next time.